Welcome to Second Most Fishing. This is Jared Wold, coming to you from the main branch of the Kickapoo River, right in Ontario, Wisconsin. So I'm entering the stream right at the first landing by Bridge 1. And there's actually a couple nice holes up ahead here. I did some fishing last night. Turned out my GoPro didn't charge while I was driving for some reason. It turns out that borrowing a vehicle at the moment, and turns out the one of the USB ports doesn't actually really charge. But did some fishing down by a couple of my other usual spots, but the water was up too high to effectively fish it. Really wore myself out just trying to get back out of the stream a couple times. So tricky wading here. When the water's up, it can be a little muddy, even though the stream bed itself is pretty much always sand and gravel, but it carries a lot of silt in from the surrounding farmland and stuff. So, and of course, fishing later in the day and you can't see what's under you is a bit dangerous. So while I'm thinking of it, I'm gonna take a temperature reading. Got my fish pond thermometer. My watch also has one, but of course it requires me to stick my arm into the water, and I know the water was fairly chilly. The reading I got when I was fishing near here last night was about 60 degrees, maybe a hair under. Ooh, wow, it really came down overnight. It got down to about 35 to 37 last night. I was just barely warm enough at my campsite to sleep pretty comfortably. Yeah, so we're looking at 52 degrees today. And of course, it was a much warmer day yesterday than it's supposed to be today. It was upper 60s yesterday, so. Did catch one about 15-inch brown yesterday, and another about 12-inch fish. Missed a couple fish last night. Just had a chance to fish before the made camp and everything, and so this river, through a lot of its stretch, certainly in the earlier season when the water's cold enough, you're going to get a mix of browns and brookies. The water's up and stained enough that said it was a challenge fishing it yesterday, but in addition to the 2 fish I caught, I got a fish that was definitely over 20 inches. Took a swipe at my lure at one point. Scared the heck out of me. And unfortunately, this hole here, I'm hoping there's still going to be some. Oh, those jackasses left a lot of garbage. There's 2 guys just sitting on this hole, guarding it all last night. I managed to go a couple miles downstream or a mile downstream and came back, and they were still in the hole. But of course, this is the opening weekend of Wisconsin's keep season. And I said I'm sure those guys were probably fishing with worms. I have really no problem with people fishing with worms, live bait if they want to, but I really dislike when they sit on a hole the whole day. That's why sometimes I won't even bother to fish the opening weekend, because you're gonna have quite a few folks in that sometimes the only time they fish is the first month of the season and keep all the fish they catch, and that's all the trout fishing they do all season. There's a nice fish. Looks like a brookie. Oh no, it is brown. Oh man, he swallowed that. 11 inches. Let's get him going again. It's a pretty fish. Imagine that, as soon as I got the action going back on my spinner, hook into a fish right away. It's a pretty big guy for another 11-inch fish. Well, they're not really all that big today, but this one put up a heck of a fight right off the bat. Some pretty fish today. Let that one get going. That's what happens when you put the cast in the right spot. I've got a nice, this riffle starts with a bit of a deep hole. If you follow my rod, basically there's a drop off. That time I got the cast all the way to the far shore and was able to let it drop a little bit before I started retrieving. So now I'm at the Wildcat Mountain State Park canoe landing. This is where we usually stop for lunch when I do paddles on the Kickapoo, of which I have 2 upcoming. I lead a trip in early June, and my paddling club has a trip in 3 weeks. No, actually, sorry, 2 weeks. And I'm going to be here in 2 weeks, one way or another, for looks like my brother-in-law and one of his buddies were planning on camping and fishing over this way, so I'm going to spend the weekend guiding them around. But very well developed launch here. People that put in at Bridge 1 that want a shorter day off and will take out here. Takes about, from there it takes about 2 hours to get here. Hour and a half. But usually by the time our paddling trips gets launched, usually it's already about 11 a.m. So this is a good spot to stop and go ahead and have lunch, because usually by the time we get here it is lunchtime. Oop, there's a fish. Not a particularly big one, but I think that might have actually been a brookie. You get a lot of this on the Kickapoo, these big turns at a rock wall with a nice deep cut along it. If you're fishing with worms or woolly buggers, probably, oh, there's the fish. Oh, I missed him.